Welcome, my name is Israel Gross and I'm a Principal Solutions Advisor at Rocket Software. Today I'm going to show you how OMEGAMON by default organizes your CICS regions into a CICSplex and what you can do to customize the way that works. So let's log on to OMEGAMON. So when you first log on to OMEGAMON, and if you followed a previous video, you'll notice that the first screen displayed is the Enterprise CICSplex summary showing all active CICSplexes. Now that's assuming that over here, your initial workspace is set to KCP start. You might be using KOBS CICS, which is primarily the same screen with a bunch of tabs at the top. If you're not looking at this screen and you want to follow along, just click Navigate and then click CICS, and that will take you to this screen. Now on this screen, you'll see I have 6 CICSplexes identified here. FUWplex, WUIplex, and WUIPER POAplex are actually CPSM CICSplexes that OMEGAMON recognizes. And then the remaining regions that aren't defined to CPSM CICSplexes are in CICSplexes identified with the SMF ID of my LPAR names, RSC1, RSC2, and RSC3. To see why this is the case, you simply go down to one of the CICSplexes and you select it, and that will give you the region summary for that particular plex. If you put a slash next to any of the region names, you'll see that you get a bunch of options, and C for CICS control functions is the option we want, so we're going to double click that. And then under that, you'll see option P, CICSplex rules and agent preferences. So we're going to click that next. That will take you to the CICSplex rules and agent preferences screen. And right at the top, you can see the default CICSplex processing is set to CPSM, then LPAR. That is the default. So this is why my regions will show up under the CPSM CICSplexes, and any remaining regions will be separated by the SMF ID of the LPAR in which they're running. Now you can change the option. If you pull the down arrow, you can see you have a bunch of other choices. You could do CPSM then OMEGAPlex. By default, every region is in OMEGAPlex. You could do CPSM then LPAR, which is the default. CPSM then CICSplex name, LPAR, or just CICSplex. For an example, we're going to click CICSplex. We're going to click Apply. And then we're going to hit PF3 a couple of times to go back to the Enterprise CICSplex summary. And you'll see that it doesn't change right away. It could take actually several minutes for it to reorganize your CICS regions into the proper plexes. It's based on the way the agents will identify any missing regions from a CICSplex. You can actually see, based on this screen, that it's starting to change. And now you can see that all my regions, all 16 of them, are identified under RS per F0P, which is the CICSplex name that my regions are running under. So it has consolidated all my regions into a CICSplex identified as my CICSplex name. Now, if you're like me and you have several hundred regions running within your environment, the last thing you want to do is see all regions as one line, right? If there's a problem in a particular region or a set of regions, it would be very difficult to see this way. And you may have some ideas of how you want to reorganize your regions into CICSplexes. So in order to do that, we have to select again the CICSplex, and you'll notice that the regions haven't filled in yet. Well, to force the regions to fill in sooner, you can do T for tools, R for registry refresh, and then hit enter and you'll see your regions will appear. Now, if I would have waited an additional couple of minutes, it would have filled in automatically. In any case, we're going to go back down to one of the regions. We're going to do C for CICS control functions, and then P for CICSplex rules. And I think I'm happy enough with CPSM and then LPAR. So I'm going to reset that. I'm going to click Apply. But what I'm going to do instead now is I'm going to go down to these individual rule definitions for CICSplexes. You'll see there's one for OMEGAPlex. You can't actually delete this one. And if you put a slash, it'll show you what the options are available here. And we're going to do an add to add a new CICSplex classification rule. So you'll see that I can give it any kind of CICSplex name I want. I'm going to do one for my CPSM region. So I'm going to call it CPSM reads. And I'm going to put all my CMASs, the CICSplex SM controlling regions, into one particular plex. And then you'll see that it also asks me about what type of agent preferences I want. I could select the agent that will control this CICSplex by putting in the name. So I could put in RSC1 if I want the agent on LPAR1 to manage this plex. I'm happy enough with asterisk and let it take the default. I can also see some CICSplex agent timeout values, right? How long it will take before an agent takes over monitoring of this, and I'm happy to leave the defaults. So if I hit enter now, and I hit PF3, you'll see I've added all my CMASs to this particular CICSplex called CPSM Reg. But there are additional regions within a CICSplex CICSplex called WUIs. I'm going to put my regions in this CICSplex as well. And so now you can see I have WUI and CMAS identified under CPSM Reg, the actual CICSplex. And I'm going to add one more rule. I know I have a bunch of regions that start with CI, so I'm going to call them CI regions. And I'm going to say CI asterisk, and I want all those regions in there as well. So you'll see I've added 3 rules over here, and I have CPSM, then LPAR set as my default CICSplex processing. I'm going to hit PF3. I'm going to hit PF3. And you can see that right now it's still set to RS per F0P, but look, I hit enter and it's starting to change. I know it hasn't finished because I would have expected to see a total of 16 regions here, so it's still working on it. Okay, if I hit enter now, you'll see that all my regions are now organized as CI regs, CPSM regs, and FUW plex, which is my original CPSM CICSplex. If I actually select them, I can see the regions that are running in it. But again, as you saw earlier, it doesn't fill it in right away. So if you want, you can force a registry refresh, T for tools, R for registry refresh. And now I can see all my CI regions in my CICSplex. I can go down to CPSM regs and I can see my CMASs and my WUIs in here. And then I can go to FUW plex and I can see the 8 FUW regions in here. Now, you're probably wondering, why would you want to separate out your regions into individual plexes? Well, you'll notice you get a lot of good information right here in the Enterprise CICSplex summary screen. You can see the transaction rate by CICSplex. You can see whether or not you've gone SOS in any of your regions. And you can see things like worst performance index, any weight on buffers, any weight on strings. And again, you can see this little white arrow which says I can shift to the right and there's more data. And so I could see the IO rate of my CPSM regions are higher than the IO rate for my FUW plex regions. So the idea is if you set this up properly, then this will give you a starting point to do any monitoring within your CICS regions. Now, there is one additional rule I'll mention, and that is, just like in the world of CPSM and a CICSplex, a region cannot span multiple CICSplexes at the same time. And so you can't take the same region and put it into 2 different plexes. Now, to solve this problem, I'll have a future video on user groups that will show you how you can actually build groups of regions that could be in multiple different plexes specifically for viewing. Thank you for watching.